With the new Arena season, we're going to talk about key cards you should play around. The second rotation in the Rise of Shadows has been interesting. The meta is one of the fastest we've seen in the last couple of years. Rather than specifically playing around cards, a lot of cards require a proactive approach to be dealt with. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to the Tempo Storm YouTube channel to keep up with our Hearthstone content. Currently, the meta feels like Curvestone. That is, if the opponent plays minions on curve for the first 5 turns, you often just lose the game. The reason this is so successful right now is that premium early game board clears are difficult to come by. In the past, we had Volcanic Potion, Defile, and Warpath that punished the opponent for spreading so wide. The current meta only has a few board clears, and they're placed in the top bucket like Consecration and Flame Strike. When the curve is this important, you gotta focus on proactively dropping a minion to contest what the opponent can play. So, let's talk about the early game first. On turn 2, your worst enemy is a Mech Warper or Darnassus Aspirant. There are other minions as well as Micro Machine and Cut Purse, but they only have 2 health. Either way, the most important move you can make is to contest the 2-3 when it's dropped. If you're going second, you should be coining out a 2-drop that can contest the 2-3 stat line. Classes that can deal 1 damage with their hero power would want to play a 2-3, while classes that can't are forced to play a 3-2. You can see that all 3 classes that deal 1 damage with their hero power are strong right now. I think you can see the pattern. Coining a 3-2 often feels pretty bad since there are so many ways to deal with a 2 health minion. Now, if you're going first and your opponent coins a Mech Warper or Darnassus, you might be even worse off. A lot of cards that deal 3 damage on turn 2 feel a bit over-bucketed right now and are mostly class-specific. One of the most effective ways to deal with coined 2-3s is playing a 2-1 or a Lowly Squire on turn 1. Once again, only classes with a ping can use this strategy to combat the 2-3. Now, obviously, Mech Warper and Darnassus are not going to appear in every game, but most games will have you contest a 2-3 stat line on turn 2, and these strategies are key to winning the board early. Turn 3 is a lot less serious. The best minion your opponent can drop is a 3-4 stat line, with Ogre Brute being the only 4-4. However, since Ogre Brute can miss, it's not that important to play around it. At the same time, 3-4s are not that common right now, and you're usually seeing slow cards such as Bronze Herald and Messenger Raven being played. So, the best way to deal with 3-2s is drafting cards like Spring Rocket and Argent Horse Rider, or draft a 3-4 yourself. We consider Spider Tank highly, even though it's compared against premium cards such as Messenger Raven and Bronze Herald. If you're lacking early game curve and it's late in the draft, you should be taking the Spider Tank over the premium cards. On turn 4, the most popular minion we have is Piloted Shredder and Proud Defender. Against both minions, you're looking to avoid drafting 4-drops with 4 health or less and favor higher health minions instead. Water Elemental is perhaps the best turn 4 play right now with its high health and how it ruins the rogue's hero power. At turn 4, strong AoEs are starting to appear. Warlock has Hellfire, Paladin has Consecration, and Druid has Swipe. Now, Swipe and Consecration are typically seen more often at lower wins because good players are avoiding reactive cards in favor of aggressive tools. With that said, if you can afford to play around these cards, you should. For example, you should always play the Spider Tank over the Messenger Raven. Turn 5 is a lot simpler. The most common minion you see is Dalaran Crusader. After that, Wargear and Pit Fighter are the other common 5-drops. Once again, you can see a hero power that can deal damage is good to contest the Crusader. Minions that have more than 5 health are ideal here. Typically, you're playing the Dalaran Crusader or Pit Fighter yourself to contest your opponents. We like to give special attention to Wargear. Right now, you have Piloted Shredder and Mechanical Yeti on turn 4. If you cannot guarantee a kill on the second body of Shredder, you should not be killing it. This is because there are a bunch of 2-drop mechs and other premium 2-drops that can contest the board. A similar logic goes to Mechanical Yeti. Only kill it if you can do it effectively. If you're forced to hero power, you need to play a 2 or 3-drop with it. If you hero power and nothing else, you're behind on tempo. At turn 5, we have Holy Nova and Starfall as the primary board clears. Starfall is often a bad pick, but you will see it more at lower wins. Hagatha's Scheme is also available at this point, and it's a hard spell to play around. You often can't play slowly against a shaman because of Walking Fountain, and you often can't get a read that they have the scheme. Our best advice is that you can only play around it after turn 8. Once you know they don't have Walking Fountain and are still playing slowly, you need to stop putting more stuff on the board. At turn 5 and beyond, this is also the time you'll see Lightning Storm, but there aren't too many meaningful ways to play around it. After turn 5, the game blows wide open. Your opponent can usually play 2 cards at once, and we're not going to go through every mana slot. The most common minions you see past turn 6 are Eccentric Scribe, Burly Shovelfist, and North Sea Kraken. In terms of class cards, the most powerful ones are Firelands Portal, Flame Strike, and Walking Fountain. When it comes to turn 7 against Mage, you have to realize Firelands Portal is way more common than Flame Strike. With this knowledge, ideally you want to drop a 6 or more health minion such as Violet Warden or Eccentric Scribe. Safeguard is often a suboptimal minion to play going into a mage's turn 7. As for Walking Fountain, if you can't set up lethal before turn 8, you have to slow down here and make trades to lower the impact of Walking Fountain. But if you're out of cards and you can't play around the fountain, then go all in for lethal. Lastly, you have Shovel Fist and Kraken. Players of all levels love to draft these cards, and it's almost a guarantee you'll see one or the other at turn 9. This means you can often value trade with your large minions because they will be targeted first. Or just leave a wide board because you have the read they don't have a board clear. Now, with all of these cards we mentioned, there are some nuances. For example, premium druid decks at high wins are usually token heavy. They don't draft 9-drops, and they usually don't draft board clears either. In this instance, your top priority is clearing their token minions to avoid Blessing of the Ancients and Savage Roar. Again, the early game curve is so important to fight these decks. If you're going second and you can't coin a 2-drop into another 2-drop, your chance of winning is decreased significantly. This is yet another reason that Rogue is so good right now. The hero power allows the Rogue to deal 2 damage over 2 turns and contest the board early on. No class can defend the early game as well as Rogue, and defending the early game is the key to victory. In summary, the meta feels interesting right now. Rather than playing around reactive cards, we're often playing proactively to contest the board. One thing we've failed to mention yet is the namesake of the event, the rise of the Mech. Mechs in general should be killed at all times. For example, if someone plays a Microtech controller, you often want to kill the 1/1 mechs over the 2/1. Likewise, the same logic is used for Hench Clan Hag. But do keep in mind when we talked about piloted Shredder, it can be incorrect to kill Shredder if you cannot deal with a 2-drop. This is the reason Shredder is so good and why it's also so popular. The same logic applies to most other mechs. Remember, tempo is the name of the game. You should not sacrifice your tempo just to kill mechs. Developing the board proactively is still most likely the best play. And this wraps up our video on cards to play around. What have you noticed in the meta? What cards have you lost to? Comment below, and as always, like and subscribe for more quality Hearthstone content. See you guys next time.